Welcome back, guys, to an episode of the Courtside Investor podcast. I'm your host, the Card Boss, and today is the Road to Macau series episode number 6, which is the recap episode. So I'm back from Macau just a few days ago, and it's been an amazing trip overall. So in this video, I'm going to talk about my thoughts on the show, recap on some of the things that happened during the show, and basically just my opinions on the show overall. I think from social media, you guys can have a good look, lots and lots of photos, lots and lots of reels, so lots of interesting things happening. So this is obviously a podcast. There's not much video, not much photo coverage that I can show you guys. I'll just basically talk you guys through on my personal experience and some facts and data that you guys might find useful, and perhaps consider attending next year's show, which I truly recommend. All right, so let's begin. Let's talk about a bit about background. I mentioned about this a couple of times already in my previous videos. So the Macau show is held in Macau, the Venetian Courtside Expo, between 10 to 12 of October, just recent, 3-day show, and it's a big hall, right? Huge space, and it's basically in central the casino area in Macau. So it tends to be a bit more expensive in terms of accommodation. So per night, for myself, the accommodation is roughly about $150 to $180 US per night. There's obviously cheaper accommodation elsewhere, but this is one that's right smack in the venue location, which within about a 10-minute walk through the shopping malls, direct connected to the expo. Is great overall. But of course, you can stay a bit further. Taxis are pretty consistent. You can get them to get to the venue from one hotel to another, so no issues on that, which is something I may consider for the next show. So obviously, it's in a good venue. Weather was great. It's a bit expensive in terms of accommodation, and also food, in my opinion, it's a bit more on the pricier side, considering I come from Malaysia. So mentioned previous videos in this series, my preparation for this show, the game plan was to bring a number of cards, and of course, like most people, try and sell as many and make some money. But for my case, it's a bit unique because you guys know I operate solely online. So having to set up at a show like this means that I have to bring back all the inventory that I wanted to sell at the show. And that was actually a curation process that started way back in June of this year. So that was like a 3+ months, of planning, because I wanted to bring a certain kind of inventory. It's not like everything that I believe could sell. Of course, if you bring the more, the merrier. But, even though I had a big table, it's not something that I wanted to just bring out like, 100 or 200 slabs like some people actually do. My focus was just to concentrate on about 30 to 40 cards. In the end, I went to the show with just 18 cards, can you believe it? And had 12 more cards that was picked up during the show itself from my purchase from Card Hobby. So all in all, I started the show with just 30 slabs, valued at approximately close to $200,000 US dollars. Now, objective was to end of the day, once the show was over, to kind of like to move all the stuff back online to all who was actually present in the show, which I'm going to touch on a bit later. But during the show itself, of course, I wanted to deal, make some money, obviously, some profit, and then maybe to buy certain things and to resell or to put them back online later. But the goal was, at the end of the day, I wasn't going to come back home with, any car. That was the plan, or was to trade into something that was nice for me to bring home. That was a possibility, but the idea was to move everything that I brought. End of the day, of course, I brought back something which is just one sole pickup, which is this 1998 Platinum Medallion Tim Duncan second year PSA 10. That's Pop 2. All right, so this card was funny, a bit interesting, because there's one card I picked up on the first year of the show, and it had the most number of interest in people, interested in acquiring the card. So I put a high price tag on it, and then I was prepared to come down quite a fair bit and move, quick, easy 20%, 25% return. But I just felt that something resonated with me on this card. My wife was with me, and she said this was a very nice looking card, a picture of Duncan and Shaq as well. So decided to bring it home, and we'll see what's up and how the outlook for this card. PSA 10 for a Platinum Medallion is not easy to come by. So all in all, it was a good show. The show started off with me moving my one-of-one Anthony Edwards second year Nike swoosh autograph patch PSA Authentic. Sold that for a nice profit, and that kind of get the ball rolling. All in all, I think I moved about 9 cards over the weekend. I bought about like 5 or 6, and I moved them as well, some of them as well, and they all of them went to alt. So for a 3-day show with just 9 sales transactions and 5 purchase transactions, doesn't feel like a lot. And because again, the value of the cards that I brought was significantly higher, talking about cards that was $3,000 and above, and most of them were in the high $5,000 and above as well. And the cards that I moved was quite significant in value. I mentioned Anthony Edwards, and I moved my Kobe Bryant flawless momentous autograph that I held for 5 years. All right, so finally moved that to Arena Club. I had a IG post on that. So this show, aside from buying and selling, it was a lot of relationship deals, as I would call it, right? So I met Courtside Investor, Kuna. I met Harut, which is Black Prism. I think that was his IG. So it was cool to connect. And of course, I did some deals with Arena Club. I met some guys from Fast Break Cards from Australia. So, and I've been a few viewers of the channel as well from New Zealand and Australia as well. So it was nice to meet all these people, and interesting as well. And of course, met a few people from China, made some new connections, people from Taiwan. So it's all good. So I got the outcomes I want from the show. I made some nice profit overall, or whatever cards that I bought, and moved it back to alt later. The only thing that I didn't achieve was to try to pick up a huge card for my long-term investment. I mentioned in an earlier video that I wanted to get a 2009 Steph Curry NT RPA. I didn't see anyone that was actually available. There were some on display. Of course, there was a big one that was on display that had no price tag, and it wasn't for sale. The closest I think that I was acquiring to a huge card was perhaps Kevin Garnett logo man from Immaculate, but there was a low-grade one. Didn't really had a good feel about that. There was some Star Rubies, Tim Duncan, that was fairly priced, but again, it was just a bit iffy, and just gave a pass on that one. There was a logo man, NT maybe 2014, 2013 that was available for sale. Price tag was a bit high. I didn't have the cash for that. I wanted to trade up, but there was nothing that the seller actually wanted, which gave me a bit of a lesson as well, because whenever you want to trade for this huge card, in excess of $100,000, you really need to have a centerpiece in your showcase, right? When I say centerpiece, means that cards that's in above excess of, let's say, $50,000 or $70,000, right? It sounds crazy, but if you are wanting to trade up, you gotta have a centerpiece, and then you fill up the rest of the deal with either cash or smaller pieces. It's quite difficult to trade into a 100K card when your most expensive piece is 25K. Right, that's even though you're willing to shove the entire kitchen sink, I would say, the $5,000 cards or $10,000 cards all to the guy. But if he's no interest in trading down, it's very hard to do. But of course, him believing that his card is very liquid. It's a Curry logo man. Obviously, it's you can sell it for cash any single time that you want. Okay, it's a matter of how much whether you get the full value. So having to break it down into 20 to 25 different pieces, that's not something technically that you want to be doing if you're trying to raise cash. It'd be just easier to just auction off that one card. All right, so that was my show actually. So it's pretty awesome overall. So I'm going to touch a bit on the show specifics, some of the stats and numbers. So I have here, basically there were about 180 dealer tables overall, which just makes it one of a huge shows. So any shows that's in excess of 100 tables is considered a big show, and this one had 180. And the best part is more than 80% was sports related. So only about 20% there was TCG or others. So sports related, of course, there's basketball predominantly, there's soccer as well. So these are the main two sports. A bit of baseball here and there, but mainly on soccer and basketball. And artifacts, of course, we had the NBA games, the China games as well, which is the preseason between the Brooklyn Nets and the Phoenix Suns. So that had a lot of interest, drew a lot of crowd as well. And then it was the game itself was just steps away from the show. So people, while waiting for the show to start, waiting for the games to start around 6:30 p.m., actually pop by to the show, spend a couple of hours there and hanging around. So even that they're not true collectors or whatever, but they have a lot of people coming in just to see what's up, which I find that amazing. So besides the NBA games, there was an NBA house, which is kind of like a family activity center. So you had lots of games going on. You could shoot some hoops in there, win some prizes. Pretty awesome setup, huge setup as well. I took a walk around it. So again, another activity for family to bring the kids over, or to just come and enjoy and have fun and to just feel the vibe of NBA. Of course, lots of merchandise sales along the way, jerseys, customized sneakers, and all sorts of other things as well. And of course, we had the appearances of some of the big names, NBA big names. We had Shaquille O'Neal, larger than life, big guy, appeared in the show. We had Dwayne Wade, we have Devin Booker, we have Jalen Green as well. So obviously, this one you require tickets, special tickets, and you got to pay extra to get autographs and things like that. So I was busy at the show. I knew they were there. Through the cheers and screams and yells, but I wasn't actually there. But I could see all of that, through the socials. It's not like I'm not really starstruck with these guys. And some of my friends were, seeing them live in person for the first time. I haven't seen them in person, obviously, but I just don't feel that starstruck. But having them being present at the show did actually draw a bunch of crowd to the show. So I found that quite awesome. Of course, any typical big show, you have some of the big vendor names there. Big like Fanatics was set up with a apparel store. We had Tops and many other big names there present as well. And the highlight was the Mojo 50 exhibition, presenting 50 of the best cards being submitted by collectors from around Asia. So we had lots and lots of good stuff. I'm sure the true socials, you guys can check it out. Our Logo Mans, we had a full Eminence set, the Kobe Bryant set Eminence. We had Jordan Star Quest combo with Kobe's as well, Star Quest Goals. Huge stuff as well. I didn't see a PMG though. That was one thing that I really missed out. But lots and lots of Logo Mans. And so definitely huge stuff. Took a walk around on that one. So all in all, it was a big draw. It was a big crowd. I think that the way the organizer had put it together was amazing. It was lots of things to do, lots of things to walk around, and lots of activities as well on the dealer tables. Just to give you some context, right? 180 tables were split into about 7 rows of tables. So each table, one dealer on average is about 2 tables of 4 feet each, so you got 8 feet per table. So which we imagine that's 180 tables, 7 rows, that's like 25 dealer tables per row at 8 feet. That's talking about like 200 feet from one end to the other, 60 meters of walking from one stretch, and then going around 7 times, in a snake pattern formation, which is crazy amount of walk. I didn't track the steps that I need to do, but it was tiring as hell. So even though I was set up, but I had opportunity to walk around quite a fair bit, to hunt deals and spend some time, talk to different people, because having set up a show, it's not always that you have people at your desk as your table, especially when I don't bring that many cards. If I bring tons of cards, see some deals are extremely busy because they bring so much stuff. So there's so much deals to do, small ones, big ones, because my cards are so focused. So there's only a few people who would be interested in certain cards. And whenever a person was, I had my wife, fortunately I had my wife there to just, give me a buzz, and I'll come running back to the table, to try to talk to the potential buyer or seller on those cards. So pretty good, given the size of the hall. There was a lot of exercise throughout the 3 days. My feet is aching like hell when I came back. Right. So I want to talk a bit about, the show is great, obviously. So, but the big thing, was the international feel of the show. Right. So when you go to the States, watch it, it's generally Americans, US, right? You go to Canada, generally Canada. But Macau show is different, where you get a huge mix of international people coming in. Of course, you have predominantly from China, from Hong Kong, given the proximity, but you have a good splash of others as well. You got people from Australia, you had Cherry, you had Fast Break, you have some American guys coming in as well. You had Rolf Cars, you had Coleman, and of course, you get the usual mix of Southeast Asia as well. You got people from Philippines, Malaysia, from Singapore. So all walks, right? Even I met some guys from New Zealand, as far as New Zealand as well. So it's a huge international flavor. And the best part of it is everybody seems to collect in a bit of a different way, right? Of course, everybody has a common theme in terms of, they respect what's the popular cards, where the market is, but everybody seems to want something different. I find that very unique. And people value cards differently as well, depending on where they're from, depending on markets that they're from. No doubt, certain cards are priced very expensive, especially coming from China, which is very obvious. So, it's all whether or not you guys can actually negotiate hard enough. So that was one of the tricky things to manage, right? So lastly, basically, alt was present, right? So alt was there. I think some of you probably seen inside their social media. They gave out cash advances in excess of $3 million. That's $3 million of liquidity pushing back to the show floor. And according to my guy Matt, this was one of the rare occasions that they ran out of money after I believe the second day, and they needed to get some extra cash for the third day to give out as advances. So maybe they didn't really expect that kind of volume of people putting in cards, because at the end of the day, right, people want cash, right? People are here to do deals. And of course, I find a lot of people tend to price the cards a bit higher, and this is an opportunity for them to really literally cash out. A lot of Asians still have some reservations on sending cards overseas, especially to the States. So having a present here, to take cards directly to auction on consignment and get money up front, that's definitely a boon for a lot of people, and that's why alt has been successful in the show. And the lines and the queues were long, right? There were a lot of people, because you got to scan your cards, you got to fill up some forms, so there was a lot of activity, a lot of busy work on those tables. Of course, for myself, I did give some cards to all as well, 23 cards in total, value about 100K. I didn't need the cash up front. I was fine to have the cash or the money being sent to my old account for me to spend on all, and that made the processing time so much easier. It took me like 3 minutes to get everything done. So something for you guys to take note of as well. For me, it's at the end of the day, I knew I was going to put everything else that I didn't sell to alt. So it's very easy process. Just took pictures of everything. Just fill up a little form with particulars of my account, and off you went. And within a week, the money would be into your account. So that's basically it. So a huge show. I definitely think that this was one of the better shows that I've attended. Way miles better than the one I went 2 years ago, the very first Macau show. But I can't blame those guys. I can't blame the people from Card Hobby, the organizers. The first show was definitely a trial run, but things has evolved dramatically in the last 2 years, making this one of the best shows. Of course, the NBA games did play a part, in my opinion, to help boost its visibility, boost its attendance. When it comes to next year, whether or not the games will be present or not, not unsure. But that will be, if let's say they're not, that will be a true test on whether or not this Macau show would be a true international show, right? Will it become bigger in terms of the number of dealers? I think so. This can easily become a 220, 230 table show next year without a doubt. Okay, given that how successful it was run this year. But of course, again, like I mentioned, will it still have the drawing power that it had this year when he had a conjunction with the NBA games? We're uncertain, but definitely this was one awesome experience. All right, that's it for this one. Thanks you guys for listening to this Road to Macau series. That concludes this series, and I hope you guys have enjoyed my preparation and from the start to the end of the show. All right, do like, subscribe for this channel for more content, for more podcasts. I've got an interesting guest coming up soon, and again, thanks for watching, guys. Till next one. Courtside out.